Hi, this is John Mack at Full Sail University in Integrated Product Development, and this is my alpha delivery demo. So just like last month, you'll see we have three devices visible to us on the screen. To the far left, we have our Android device. On the far right is our iOS device. And in the middle is our project prototype that will help us fill in some of the gaps on features that haven't quite been built out yet. Last week, functionality to create a master family account and add individual user profiles to that family account was implemented. This week, some editing and Scrum features have been built into the application, including the ability to update the family photo, update the family name, street address, postal code, email address, and even the master password for the family account. In addition to those changes to the family account can also be deleted or disabled if the user chooses to deactivate their account. It is worth noting that when a user does delete their family account, their history is still stored in the database, and in future versions of the application, that will make it possible for them to link a new account or a reactivated account to that existing history if they choose to return to the application. Um, on top of adding the ability to edit and delete the family account, functionality to update individual profile pictures and delete individual profiles has also been added to the application. Those permissions are specific to parent profiles. So a child profile will have the ability to update their profile picture, but will not have the ability to make any additional changes to the application. And we'll see that come into play in just a few minutes. So to start with, we'll go ahead and on our iOS device, we'll create a new family. And we're going to enter our last name, our street address, and our postal code. And then on the next screen, we'll enter our family's master email address and create a master password for the account. It is important to note that this is the only time that the user will be asked to establish an email address and password combination. This is because the idea is to give parents control, as much control as possible over the account, and restrict some of that control to the children that are also using this application. So rather than individual profiles providing an email address and a password, only the master account will require an email address and password. Individual profiles will then be authenticated using the profile's first name and their profile PIN, which is established by those individual users. So we'll go ahead and enter that information, and then we can add a family photo. To start with, we'll take a picture from the camera for our family photo. And we'll just take a picture of the door for now. And there's our family photo. Once we hit continue, that family account is automatically created on the back end, and the user is then taken straight to the first parent profile creation screen. So we'll create our first parent, and once this parent is created, the user on this device will automatically be logged in with this parent profile. So we'll say the first parent's name is Johnny. He was born on September 10th, 1982. We're going to indicate that he is a dad. And we'll create his individual profile pin. And then we'll select dad's profile picture from our gallery of existing photos. And for dad, we'll just do a picture of the TV. And once we create that, dad is then added to the family account. We can then add one more parent, which we'll go ahead and do. And this time we'll go ahead and add mom. And we'll set her PIN. And we'll get mom's photo from the camera. And we'll get a picture of the kitchen for mom. Okay, so once we've added our second parent, we will not be allowed to add any additional parents. That does cap out at 2 for the current version of the application. It may be possible in future versions of the application to add additional parents, but for now we are restricted to 2. We can, however, add as many children as we like, so let's go ahead and add our first child to the account. And we'll say Braylon is a girl. And we'll just go ahead and get Braylon's picture from the gallery too. We'll use the couch for her. And let's add one more child to the family. And we'll get her photo from the gallery as well. Okay, so now we've created a family of 4. Once we hit finish on our Android device, we'll automatically be logged into Dad's profile, and we can see that if we go to the Profile tab on the application. So we'll switch over to our iOS device, and to begin with, we'll go ahead and log in with Mom. And to start with, I'm going to type in the wrong password so that we can see that user authentication is working properly. We will not be able to log in without the correct credentials. So we'll correct the password, but we'll type in the wrong email address just to double check that. Incorrect email address, and we'll use the correct password, and we still cannot log in. However, once we type in the correct combination, we can then log into our chosen profile. So to begin with, let's start with Mom. And again, just to show authentication at work, we'll type in the incorrect PIN, and we cannot log in because that profile is not found. However, once we type in the correct first name and PIN combination, we are now logged in to Mom's profile, as you can see here. So here's where the functionality that has been built this week comes into play. As I mentioned earlier, we can now make changes to individual profile photos, update the family photo, and also make edits to the family's information and delete individual profiles as well as the family. We'll start by updating the family photos. So let's say Mom's not using the app, or she's looking at the news feed, and meanwhile Dad decides that he wants to change the family photo, and he wants a nice picture of the TV. And that's it. It's as simple as selecting a new photo, and that update is automatically pushed. So the next time Mom comes and looks at the family, she then sees that new family photo that Dad selected. However, Mom doesn't like that photo. So instead, she's going to choose a nice spring blossom. And when Dad goes back, our family photo is now updated. It does take a few seconds for changes to push through the back end, but those changes will appear fairly quickly. On the family profile, you can see our listing of individual family members. Parents have the ability to see this. Children do not. So if we log out of our parent account on iOS, and we'll log in with one of the children, when we go to the screen, we do not have the ability to even view the family, and you'll notice the delete button for this profile is also gone. However, Breland does have the ability to change her family photo, or her profile photo. So she's updated her profile photo, and the next time mom or dad goes to look at the family or pull up that individual profile, we have Breland's updated profile photo. Nice and simple. So let's go ahead and log back in with mom. And we'll go ahead and just we'll experiment with changing every profile photo real quick so we can see that at work. So on Android, we'll just make everybody's profile photo the same so we can see how when we view the profile, individual profiles on iOS, those changes are easy to notice. And our emulator is running a little slow. Bear with me here. Okay. So we've gone ahead and updated all of those individual profile photos. You can see those changes when we go into the family account on Android. And you'll see those also the next time we go into the family account on iOS. So now, just for fun, let's go and update those all to some pretty pictures on the iOS side. You can see we've got a little bit of loading issue here on the iOS side, and that's due to the asynchronous nature of the updates that are being pushed. We are exploring solutions to make that a little bit smoother of a change on iOS. However, all of those photos are updating. So we don't really want to duplicate photos, so let's pick a different one for dad. So we've got new profile photos for all of our family members. And if we next time we go back into that family screen on Android, which is still running a little slow, bear with me here. This is an emulator issue. We'll see those profile photos have been updated. So now the next thing that we're going to take a look at is making changes to the actual family account. So you can see once we go into this edit screen, the current information is pre-populated for us. So let's just say we want to change the family's last name, and our street address is incorrect, so we'll make a quick change to that. And we also want to update the family's email address. Making these changes does require the user to enter the current master password, so we'll go ahead and type that in. And we'll save those changes. And since our emulator is running a little bit slow, we'll give it a second to catch up with us. Now, we'll jump back over to iOS, and what I want to note here is when we log out of the iOS application, we're going to be asked to log back in. This is not functionality that will be present in the final build. It's simply included for demonstration purposes in this video. So you can see over here, our family has updated to the Jones family and our address has been corrected. Now, when we go to log back in, first, let's do one more thing. We're going to update our password as well. So we'll come down here to change password. We'll be asked to enter our old password. And then we can enter our new password. And I'm just going to add one character to the end of the password. So we'll save that change as well. And wait for our emulator to catch up with us. Okay, so first thing we'll try is to log in with our old credentials. And that information is no longer valid. So let's log in with what we know is the correct email address. And that information is also not valid because we also updated our password. So let's type in the correct password. And we see that we can now log in with the correct credentials. We'll log back in with mom. And we typed in the wrong PIN. Let's type in the correct PIN and we'll be in good shape. And when we come back to the family profile, you'll see our changes were made across all of our devices. So let's go back to iOS real quick. Give that a second to catch up. All right. And we'll make some changes over here on the iOS side, and we're just going to change that information back. Oops. Now you know my password. So that might be an issue that we need to correct as far as that message showing up. Because if we look that information, we'll go back into that real quick. Just a couple emulator issues going on for some reason on the Android side. So the issue was I was typing in the wrong password. And that screen should automatically dismiss. It is not, so that will be fixed, but you can see those changes were created back on the Android side. We'll update our password on this side as well. And we'll save that. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is delete a couple of profiles. So we'll start on the iOS side, and we're going to delete one of our child accounts. And we're going to do that simply by hitting delete and confirming that we wish to delete that account. These should not be duplicating. This was not duplicating in our test runs, so that will be troubleshooted and fixed before we begin the next sprint. We'll come over to iOS and we'll see that the profile that we chose to remove has been removed across devices. We'll come in here and we're going to delete mom so we can see what happens when we delete the currently active profile. So mom has been deleted, and since that's the profile we were using, she is automatically signed out. And we'll log back in with dad, maybe. We'll see where we are as far as our email address. That'll help us. And it appears we have forgot our password, which allows us to demonstrate this functionality. So if we type in our email address, we'll then be sent a password reset link. Except we may have an issue with an update being pushed to our user account. So let's try this. There we Let's just make sure we have everything the way we want it now. There we go. So the problem is I got a little ahead of myself. Now that we've got everything back on track, those updates will happen the way they're supposed to. When I'm updating information in both devices simultaneously so quickly together, it will cause issues if my work gets ahead of the updates that are being pushed on the back end. So as you can see, back in our family list, we have deleted both mom and one of the children. So the next thing that we will showcase here is the ability to delete the family account altogether. So we've updated our family account, we've updated our family photo, we have updated individual profile photos, we've deleted individual profiles. The last thing that we need to showcase as far as functionality that has been built out this week is the ability to delete the family account altogether. And that is done simply by clicking on the delete button on the family profile screen. That account has automatically been deleted. We are logged out, and if we try to log back in, that account no longer exists. And that is it for this week's demo. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next sprint.